who has given us this opportunity to come together as a mishpachah, as a family. I do want to say to all of you that I do love and care for each and every last one of you. And that's the truth. That is the truth. That's why I do what I do, because this is what I've been called to do, is to love Yahweh's people and to share what I know. You know, I have the opportunity to do something great while I'm here on the earth, and I want to do that. And I want to share what Yah has done. He's used my life and what I've been going through in order to help me have the opportunity and the time, shalom, to do the things that I'm doing. So I'm thankful for that. Often you may hear me talk about the things that I struggle with in terms of my, I'm disabled. I can't do a lot of different things. But one of the things that I do have is my mind. I do have my mind, and I'm eternally thankful for that. So my body might be in pain, and I might experience that, and there is some anguish with that, I would say, at different times, because I'm frustrated with what I can and cannot do a lot. And so let me see, participants. Someone trying to get in. Okay, let's make sure everybody gets in. I would ask today that you would help me along the way of this teaching by participation. I would like to see you be more involved in giving some input, just what you see and what you've experienced. And if you have something that's fruitful, that's dealing with the topic that we're dealing with at hand, I ask that you get involved and say something, because your words may be the ones that someone actually needs, and they need to hear from other people besides me. I know that we have a lot of people online that have dealt with mental health, and there's a lot of people who have a lot of life experience. There's a lot of people that have gone through some things, and so you can use those experiences in order to help us as a community of people. And then if we were able to do this, I think it would it'd be a nice little platform for other people to say, I want to be part of that community that they have. We're a very small community. We might have like 20 to 30 people, and that's fine. Other people have thousands of people. I'm not into numbers. I'm really into the quality versus quantity. I'm into that remnant package. I'm into the ones that Yah says that, he loves and he cares about, right? That small flock. It's not the herd that I'm concerned with. It's the flock that I'm concerned with. So today I want you to participate in whatever manner you feel necessary by giving a voice to some things. And then don't feel bad about asking questions. Questions are good. That's part of what we're doing. We're here to learn. Also today, I'm going to be sharing a few things with you that, and by all means, I'm letting you know that I am not, I'm not a mental health professional. Okay. I'm not. I don't have any, schooling. So I'm going to, preface this conversation with that. I'm not literally, authorized by any man to say these things. I'm telling you from the experience that I've had. I'm telling you this because of what I've learned through the writings, through the Torah, through the prophets, through the Psalms, and then life itself has been a great experience for me. So I want to share that. And I believe we all have the right to do such a thing, is to share our experiences with one another, because that's how you and I will grow. And that's how we'll come to know what this life is really about. It's about sharing. It's about sharing ideas. This in particular Torah portion today is called Wayera, and Wayera again has to do with Yahweh appearing unto Avraham. This word was used, I broke it down, and it means, and he appeared, meaning, and he was shown, he shown himself. Okay. That's what he did. He showed himself to Avraham. He reveals himself through the writings that we have here. Okay. I have this picture right here of this little beautiful child, this little boy with these eyes. This is a little image that I found, and I said, this would be great for Wayera, and I don't want you guys to get the wrong idea about what I'm showing you here, because even though I'm showing you this beautiful picture of this little kid and this little smile and these bright eyes, and He got his little necklace on and all these types of things. It was because of a child that Avraham had left his land. It's because of a child. It's because of a child that he was given the promises of the Creator. Because he asked him, he said, what is all this stuff that you're telling me? What good would everything that you're saying to me would be to me if I didn't have a child? So life itself is meaningless if one is not able to reproduce from within themselves and to be able to pass on teaching, to pass on traditions, to pass on customs and culture, and to pass on some of the things that you've learned. And that's the goal of life, is to pass on information to your child and to the next generation. And this is what the Creator has given us. And often we don't look at that as the primary responsibility and the goal of each of us, is to be able to pass on information. One of the things that the Creator wants us to pass on, as he stated to our father Avraham, is that he said, should I make known to him the things in which I'm going to do, considering that he will teach his children to guard my way, to guard my ways, and to live in a righteous way, and to do the things that I'm asking him to do. So it's this child that we're going to see. And so I want to let you know that seeing things, often we should look at things through the eyes of a child. We should look at things through the eyes of innocence, right? And how the Most High would like for us to really view things, and to be someone who's not puffed up and arrogant, right? And also, too, we're going to find out some different things in which Yah is trying to get us to see, all right? So the first thing I want to begin with is the idea of what the Creator had said, okay? So let me see here. Let me see. Go back. Yahweh said to Avraham, and I don't have the scripture here, but I know it's in Bereshit 17 and 1. And this is like the little sub part of it. I've been talking about this for the following week or two. It says that I am El Shaddai. Okay, I'm the Almighty, and I want you to walk in my presence and to be pure-hearted. So when we think about this, we discussed it and we talked about it, and we said, well, there's some things, being wholehearted with Yah, and what did that look like? And I had mentioned to us about our emotions, and what it is that he's looking for. He's looking for literally everything. But this idea of being pure-hearted and being wholehearted from a Hebraic perspective means to come to a point of being mature, okay? So the goal of everything and everyone is to come to a place of maturity, okay? Like a fruit and that's growing on a tree, or some other type of vegetable that has to go through a time of maturation, a business in terms of its development, where it peaks out and it hits its goals. So there's several different ways that this can be achieved, but the idea is for us to come to the point of being mature. And that's what the Creator wanted our father, which is called the Avinu Avraham. That's what Avinu means, is our father. Okay. So let me instruct us right here. Avi means my father, and Nu means us, or our. Okay. So our father, that's who our father is. Our father is Avinu Avraham, or Avraham Avinu, okay? So what did he say, and how did he bring our father to maturity? And that's what we're going to be discussing today, which we find in our Torah portion, okay? Our father had found this, this idea of a crisis, okay? That's how one should come and will come to maturity, is through a crisis. That's generally what causes us to grow, is a crisis. Could you guys hold on for just one moment for me? I'm sorry for cutting. I have to do something right quick in terms of, I'm getting some feedback for just a second. Hold on for just a moment. All right, I'm sorry about that. I was just getting some feedback. So here we are. So our time time of going through things, crisis always brings about what they would call an opportunity. And what we're going to realize through our study is that through these different crises during this difficulty that our father had, he had difficulty with a lot of people. There was a lot of crises in the life of Abraham. A lot of us don't talk about it. We talk about the child that he was going to have. We talk about the promise. We talk about the land. We talk about those things, but we don't really talk about how this all came about. He had crisis from the beginning, from the onset, when he left his family. You know, that was something that had truly affected him. He left his father's house. He had crisis and difficulty with Lot and his herdsmen. He had crisis with Pharaoh and the people of Mitzrayim and what they did to him in terms of taking his wife. And so we have all these different crises. That he was involved in a huge crisis with Sodom and Gomorrah. And he had this conversation with Yah about what his intention was. And he was trying to intercede on behalf of those people, not just for the righteous. He was using the righteous as a way to communicate to the Creator that, hey, listen, if you could spare that city for the sake of these righteous, would you do it? And, you know, the judge of all the earth do such a thing. And he called him a master. So there's these people that are part of the life of Abraham are there in order to help bring him to maturity. And being brought to maturity means that you and I are going to have to go through something. Okay. So when we talk about Avimelech, Sarai, Hagar, Yishmael, and Yitzchak, these individuals, we need to look at how they affected him, Abraham himself, but also too within the investigation and examination of what they have caused in his life. We also need to look at what was going on in their lives. Okay. So Yah's using different people to bring about maturity through the idea of difficulty, okay, and crisis. Okay. So let's begin with Avimelech. Okay. There's several times in which he had a crisis with him, and we're going to see some things. Okay. So Avimelech means my father is the king. He was the king of Gerar, and Gerar is the place, what they would say, the land of the Philistines. So now we know Abraham, again, is a stranger, and a stranger is called a ger, and a ger is someone who is generally afraid because they're unfamiliar with the area or the territory they're in. So again, you know, living in a place that you're not familiar with, you don't know the people, you don't really understand their customs and all these things, you're kind of living an isolated life, right? So our father went through this, and he was approached by this king Gerar of the Philistine. And again, he was faced with another crisis. They took his wife, okay? Unlike what they did in Mitzrayim, where, you know, they took her, but they gave him gifts and so forth and so on at the beginning, on the onset of, oh, this is your sister. Okay, well, here, let us give this to you, and so forth and so on. He was increased through his wealth through this. But here again, he's having his wife taken again. And guess what? This woman is 90 years old. She must have been super beautiful, right? So this king decides he's going to take her. So again, now this is another crisis that has been brought upon the life of Abraham. And through this event that took place, there was a dream that happened to this in particular king. So let's look at this person, Avimelech, and find out what it was that Yah wanted to bring about for him. So understanding the crisis means that we're going to look at Abraham and what happened to him, but we're also going to look at what Yah wants us to pull out from the crisis, pull out from the people that are mentioned. There was a dream that was mentioned, and Elohim came to Avimelech in a dream one night, and he said to him, you are about to die because of the woman you have taken, since she's someone's wife. When we think about this, when you said you took someone's wife, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Or should I say?
Like rape?
Well, yes, that, but also too, let's think in terms of Torah.
10 words.
That's the 10 words where Yah says you should not covet or take another man's wife, right? So, and look at the punishment that goes along with taking someone's wife. See? So Yah's using this man to tell us how he feels about another man taking somebody's wife. Automatically, you're going to get the death penalty. Okay? So it didn't apply. So this man didn't have a written Torah. You understand? He didn't have a written Torah. Okay. He was a king that had no relationship whatsoever with the king of the universe at that moment. Okay. But his opportunity for a relationship came to be because he found himself in a crisis. Now he's about to be put to death for taking someone's wife. I mention this because I believe that communication is very important in our understanding of our relationship with the Creator. The Creator is going to use different situations and circumstances to bring about communication. Okay. So there's things that are going to happen in our lives that this gives Yahweh an opportunity to speak with us and to tell us. Okay. I would say this man right here was only able to get this communication and not be automatically killed because of who he was dealing with, because he says you're dealing with someone else's wife. In this communication, Yah has used a dream to communicate with him. Okay. In the book of Job, it tells us something about the Creator. Okay. It says, in a dream and in a vision at night, when slumber falls upon people, as they sleep in their beds, he opens people's ears and seals the matter with a warning to turn a person away from his action and protect a man from pride, so that he will keep himself away from the pit and from perishing by the sword. This is Iyov telling people about how the Creator uses dreams. That's what Yah will use. He will talk to you in a dream and he'll talk to you in a vision in order for you to be warned, in order for you to turn away from the action and protect the person from pride. Okay. So what we understand about a dream through, our study of the Torah, but more specifically in this in particular weekly portion, we find that Yah has decided to use a dream to speak to this man and to speak to him, to open his eyes. Okay, which brings us to the root word of Wayera, which is ra'ah. That means to open one's eyes, that's to see. In the book of Kavuka, it says, look, meaning open your eyes and look at the proud. He's inwardly not upright, but the righteous will attain life through through trusting faithfulness. I put this here simply because the Creator wants us to understand something. Someone's pride is not only something that's from the inward, okay? Meaning that they're expressing this on the outside. I talked about it earlier this week about pride. Pride is one who's swelled, something that is swollen, something that is not necessarily firm. Anything that gets lifted up, it's really puffed up. It's not the real deal. It's not what one would say, what is, that is the book of Kabuka, and it means to embrace. That's a great question. Kavukuk means to embrace. Yeah, Habukuk, yes, it means to embrace. That's what his name means, okay? And it means to embrace. And so the idea behind this is to get us to embrace, to look at the fact of what pride really means. Okay, so this in particular man, Avimelech, he had a lot of pride. And let me show you what pride looks like. Now, Avimelech had not come near her, so he said, Adonai, in this dream, will you kill even an upright nation? Before I go any further, who had asked the Creator, will he kill some righteous? Abraham had asked that question, didn't he? He asked the question, will you kill even an upright nation? So this king, in his opinion, listen, thought that they were an upright nation. That's what he thought. And he called Yahweh master, okay? So he recognized the power and he understood who it was that was speaking to him. He said, Adonai, meaning my master, will you kill even an upright nation? And didn't he himself, what happened? Didn't he himself say to me, she's my sister, and even she herself said, he's my brother? And in doing this, my heart was been pure and my hands are innocent. That's what he said. I'm innocent. I didn't do anything. They told me this. Based upon what someone else says, a person would actually think that they're innocent. That's what he thought. He thought he was innocent because somebody else told him that he was innocent. Kind of like the New Testament. They would tell you that you're made righteous because of something that you believe. Our problem is that we're listening to other people. Do you understand? You don't become upright and righteous simply because somebody told you something and you believe in your own mind that what you've done is the right thing. That's not the way to measure righteousness. It's not. Pride comes in all different shapes and sizes. I want to introduce you to a king called Melech Uzziah. Okay, he's the king, right? So what about this king Uzziah? Uzziah means that Yah is my strength. Okay, so pride can be an onset. Okay, so Uzziah was 16 years old when he began his reign. When he became a king, he was 16 years old. He ruled for 52 years in Yerushalayim. He's one of the longest reigning kings in Yerushalayim. His mother's name was Yeholah from Yerushalayim. He did what was right from Yahweh's perspective. Everything seems copacetic. Everything seems wonderful. Following the example of everything his father Amatyahu had done. He consulted Elohim during the lifetime of Zechariah, who understood visions of Elohim. As long as he consulted Yahweh, Elohim gave him success. As long as he was consulting Yahweh, he had success. He was 16 years old, reigning for 52 years. But there's something that happened to him, okay, because of this idea of pride. So Yah's letting us know that even though things may appear right and you're on the right path and you're doing things the right way, and you honestly believe that you're doing the right thing, something can happen. I need you to be watchful. When he was strong, okay, he became arrogant, which caused him to become corrupt, so that he sinned against Yahweh, his Elohim, by going into the temple of Elohim to burn incense on the altar. When he became strong, and I didn't give you the whole context of who he is, he became very strong. This man was winning all kinds of battles. He was doing everything that Yah wanted him to do. Everything. And then all of a sudden, he became arrogant. As we discussed about even Sodom and Gomorrah, they were arrogant. And we find in our Torah portion, our weekly portion this week, I didn't see any arrogance whatsoever in our father Avraham. I didn't see any arrogance in him. I saw arrogance in other people. I saw arrogance in Pharaoh. I saw arrogance in Yishmael. I saw arrogance in Avimelech. I saw arrogance in the 5 kings that he killed, the 4 kings that he killed. I saw arrogance in these people. But I haven't seen any arrogance in our father, not Abraham. And this is one of the reasons why Yah has chosen him, because he didn't have this arrogance, even as mighty as he became and what he was and what was promised to him. He did not get arrogant. Our people are a very arrogant people. They're very puffed up. They're very, lifted up, and they think that they know everything, and they don't. Okay. And this is what caused him to become corrupt. And because of this corruption, it caused him to go in and to do something that only the priest could do. So now all of a sudden he calls himself a Leviim, and he goes in and says, I'm going to light the incense on the altar. As I've been saying for the last several years, that no one besides the Leviim can do such a thing. But because you're full of pride and arrogance, you'll go around and call yourself a Leviim. How many people have you heard today that are calling themselves a Leviim? How many people have you heard and seen that have put on priestly garments and pretend and to do offerings and sacrifices as if they're the Leviim? And I ain't just talking about our people. I'm talking about others that are claiming to be Leviim, that are doing such things as this. Yah is causing us to open our eyes. Open your eyes. Okay? This is what Yahweh says. Yahweh is in his holy temple. Yahweh, his throne is in the Shamayim, the heavens. His eyes see and test humankind. Yahweh tests the righteous, but he hates the wicked and the lover of violence. This is what Yah, he wants us to see this. The Yah has eyes, and he sees and he tests us all the time. There has to be a judgment. As you notice in our Torah portion, he talked about bringing judgment upon Sodom and Gomorrah. And the people that he brings this upon are the ones that he has decided that, guess what? You guys thought I didn't see. You thought that there won't be any consequences. You got haughty and you got arrogant. He said he will rain hot coals down on the wicked. Fire, sulfur, and scorching wind will be what they get to drink. For Yahweh is righteous and he loves righteousness. The upright will see his face. The wicked don't have a chance. The wicked don't have a chance. The arrogant don't have a chance. Sodom and Gomorrah did not get destroyed because there were a whole bunch of sodomites. They got destroyed as we found out they were not doing what was right to the poor and the needy. They were gluttonous. You see, they were arrogant and they were very, very prideful. And so that is indicative of a person who is wicked. And this is what they're going to get to drink. They're getting the judgment. Back to what Avimelech said in his dream. Elohim said to him in the dream, yes, I know that in doing this, your heart has been pure, okay? And I too have kept you from sinning against me. This is why I didn't let you touch her. See, he had the idea that what he was doing was the right thing. He's not doing the right thing. He claimed that we're a righteous nation. He's not righteous. It was Yah's hand that caused him not to touch her. Often, sometimes you and I like to boast of the things that we're doing, and it's not literally because we're doing it, it's because Yah has caused us to do it. A lot of things that he has stopped us from doing, so you and I wouldn't sin against him. You understand? This is why I didn't let you touch her. See, yeah, you've been made pure, but you've been made pure because of me, not because of you, okay? But there was a decision. There's the decision that this man had to make. Yah had gave him an option. He gave him a choice. He says, therefore, return the man's wife to him now. He's a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you will live. But if you don't return her, know that you will certainly die, you and all who belong to you. We can learn from this crisis that Yah will give even the wicked and the arrogant and the prideful an opportunity to turn. Even though this man believed he was right, even though he claimed that he did the right thing, Yah said, I'm still going to give you an opportunity. I'll still kill you. I will still kill you. Right? And also, too, we learned that what? Avraham is a prophet. Avraham is a prophet. He is a Navi. So when you want to add your list of prophets, Moshe was a prophet. Abraham is a prophet. That's what he is. He's a Navi. So that means that Yah was telling him information and letting him know what was going to happen before it happens. Okay. And because of this, Abraham had the ability to see things that other people couldn't see, meaning that he would call what we would call recognition. You and I need to exercise this power called recognition. You and I need to open up our eyes and recognize who you're dealing with. Abraham replied, and this is after Avimelech had tried to chew him out and ask him, hey, why'd you lie to me? Why'd you tell me this? Why? He said, look, I didn't lie. She is my sister. You know, she's the daughter of my father, which could not only be his father's initial daughter, but one of the daughters from his father, meaning it could have been through a son, through his, one of his son's daughters. And not necessarily meant that it was his daughter, because when it talked about him having children, he mentions that he had these sons. These sons could have easily had a daughter. It could have been the daughter of the brother that died. You see, it could have been one of the daughters of him. Okay. And because you can see that a lot of his other brothers did marry some of their brother's daughter. You see, so Abraham replied, it was because I thought. He asked him, why'd you do this? Why would you bring this sin upon our nation? He said, it was because I thought, and it wasn't I thought, I said. That's what this word is, not I thought. And if he did think it, he did say it in his mind. He said, there could not possibly be any fear of Elohim in this place. There can't be. So they will kill me in order to get my wife. Those are the type of people that our father was living around. And that right there is a crisis because he's living in fear. I want to show you that. Our father was living in fear. He was living in fear because he said, they're going to kill me. Just like they were going to do in Mitzrayim. They're going to kill me over my wife. That's what the nations will do. You see? Didn't the nations take our wives from us? Huh? Didn't they sleep with our daughters and our wives and take them right before our eyes? You see? Weren't they trying to kill all of Israel's males so they can have their daughters and take their wives from them? You see? This is the reason why Yahweh doesn't like a person to take somebody's wife, because it's not righteous. It's actually wicked and it's very prideful. Okay? So this is what he said. He prophesied and said, it is because I said, there could not possibly be any fear of Elohim in this place. They will kill me in order to get my wife. So he understood that there was no fear there. He lived under those conditions in the land that he was living. So it wasn't easy, people. It's not easy. That's what he dealt with him. Next, Sarai. The child grew and was weaned, and Abraham gave a great banquet on the day that Yitzchak was weaned. But Sarai saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, whom Hagar had borne to Abraham, making fun of Yitzchak. So Sarai said to Abraham, throw this slave girl out and her son, and I will not have the slave girl's son as your heir along with my son Yitzchak. Let me ask you guys something. Do you think that was stressful? Think about it.
Okay, yes.
How do you think, how would you feel that your wife just told you the slave girl that, the slave girl that you have and you had a son with, and this boy's 13 years old, I want you to put them out. That's what she told him. She gave him a command. It wasn't a suggestion. It wasn't a recommendation. It was a command. She brought this on him. This is a crisis. This is a very difficult thing. It's a very stressful time for our father. Often we hear about him running and making stuff and fighting battles and wars, and you don't ever hear anything physically wrong with him. But you hear now things that are really dealing with the mind. You understand? Yah's trying to let us know something. I would choose somebody that's 100 years old, and I'll choose somebody that's 90 years old. Why would Yah choose elders? Zaquain. Why would he choose Zaquain or Zaquainin? Why would he choose, meaning elders? Why would he choose elders as the people? Somebody tell me, just give me an idea. Why do you think he would choose older people? Why he didn't choose somebody 25 and 30 and 50? Why did he choose somebody like 190 years old? What is Yah trying to tell us?
Wisdom.
He's trying to tell us about wisdom. What else?
Maturity.
Yeah.
Maturity. Okay. But here it is. Why would, okay, so listen. You guys got some good ones right there. Think of it from a physical standpoint. Why would think on the other side? Yeah, you got the 100 years old for wisdom. Absolutely. A person who's they've been around for a while. 90, they're there. Okay. They're wise, they're understanding, they're very patient. Okay. They got all this kind of stuff going on, right? But what about their okay, but guess what? It said that she was what? She was beautiful. She got snatched away even at 90. Okay. So what is Yah telling us? He's telling us, look, even a person that's at this age, okay, listen, they still got a lot to learn. Okay. How can you and I relate to a 90-year-old and a 100-year-old? How can we relate to that? You and I, some of us don't even hit 75 years old. So how could we relate to this story? The only way you and I should relate to it is understanding something. Is that Yah is saying to us that I'm using their ages because it is about maturity, Dr. Yared, as you have stated, and it is wisdom, Dr. Kavika. Okay. That's the reason why I'm using it. But physically, I'm letting you know that what will be considered the impossible is possible. He's letting us know no matter how old that you get, it's still possible for me to bring you to maturity. You may have started walking with me at 80 years old, like Moshe. Be able to do the ministry and the call that I asked you to do at 80 years old. And you still have a lot to learn. You see? You could start off with Yah was 16 years old like that king and reign for 52 years. And you'd be going good, good, good. And all of a sudden you fall off. You understand? It can happen. So what it is, if you really think about it, when we talk about maturity, we're not talking about maturity of the body. We're talking maturity of the mind. That's why. Okay. So he's asking our Father he's going to have to be made mature through the things that he's going to go through. So he sends this situation, this crisis into his life at a party. This is at a festival. This is at a time of celebration. He was told by his wife, get rid of your son and that woman right now. And from his viewpoint, well, the way he saw things, according to our weekly portion, Wayera, he saw something from his viewpoint, from his eyes. It talked about not just from, it says Avraham became very distressed over this matter. In the Hebrew, it says in his eyes. In his eyes. This was Ra, meaning that this was evil. This is what he saw. He said, this is evil what this woman just asked me to do. To throw these people out. And guess, how many people do you think were in the community? His community that he developed.
Did he have hundreds?
Yes, he had hundreds. Of course, he had 318 trained servants. He had Eleazar, his servant. They had families. These people had children and wives. And then other strangers would come and hang out and all this kind of stuff. There are literally hundreds of people. So now he's the leader of the whole entire community, and his wife, literally, he's the king and she's the queen. And the queen says, get rid of this woman. The woman that he asked her to get rid of was not just a regular slave girl. She was his wife. Did he have a relationship with Hagar? Did he care for her? Yes, he did. Did he care for his son? Yes, he did. And he had to do this in public. Now, what do you think he felt like? What do you think he felt? Do you think he felt disappointed? Did he feel hurt? Did he feel like everything that I've done is for nothing? Yeah. Get rid of her. Abraham became very distressed over this matter with his son. But Elohim said to Abraham, don't be distressed because of the boy and your slave girl. Listen to everything Sarah says to you, because it is your descendants through Yitzchak whom will be counted. But I also would make a nation from the son of the slave girl, since he is descended from you. I'm going to show him favor. Don't be distressed. Do what she tells you to do. Okay? Do this. Why is Sarah doing what she's doing? Give me some feedback.
To avoid future conflict.
Thank you. She's getting rid of future conflict. She's getting rid of something that she saw. She saw something. She's getting rid of the person who would try to take the throne. Someone who would try to take the inheritance. She said, this child's not going to rule and reign and inherit he's not going to be an heir with my son. Okay. This was something that she was very aware of. It wasn't because she was just selfish. It was something that she saw. Okay. This word yera that we have here is very similar to what we would call our Torah portion, yera. Sounds exactly the same. Yera sounds like wayera. Same. It has very similar letters, but the difference is one is spelled with an aleph and the other one is spelled with an ayin. So they sound alike. So it's just the opposite. So what is this yera? This yera that Avraham felt, everyone, was a feeling of deep distress caused by loss and disappointment and other misfortunes suffered by oneself or others. This man suffered a loss. He suffered his firstborn son to that woman. He suffered disappointment because he thought everything was going to be cool. Now they've got a little Yitzchak. It's all good. Everyone's happy. We're having a party. The baby's being weaned. There's no problems. You know, Hagar came back. It's all good. But it's not. It's not good. Let's continue to build on why and all the losses and disappointment that he had. So he got that. Hagar. Abraham got up early in the morning. He took bread and skin of water and gave it to Hagar. And he put it on her shoulder and the child. And then he sent her away. And after leaving, she wandered in the desert around Beersheba. So she's wandering around in the desert, her and her son. Her son is roughly, probably about maybe 15. He's about 15 years old. That's how old he's around. He's about 15 or 16. And we know this because he got circumcised at 13 years old. Yah comes and visits them and says, I'll be coming next year. I'm going to come and get you. You know, you're going to have a baby. So then he turns 14. Okay. And then the child is weaned probably a year or two after that. So he needs to be about 15 or 16 years old. Okay. So he's still considered a child. And that's according to the Torah as well. Anyone who's under the age of 19 years old is not a man. They're a child. They're what they would call a young person, a na'ar. And that means a youth. So he had no way of really protecting himself. He had no way of sustaining himself. All he had was his mother. So now what you have is what they call the single parent home. She was a single parent. And this is probably one of the first times that you're ever mentioned about a single parent. And Hagar is the first one to really experience it from what we have here in our information, okay? And she's the one who was called a Hagar, meaning to run away. Okay, that's what her name means, to run away. So there's always been contention in that family, right? And that's what we're seeing. But I'm trying to give us an understanding about how our Father came to be who he is and why did the Creator choose him and how did he come to maturity. This in particular situation caused a great deal of distress for her. Listen to this. Because remember, it caused Abraham problems. And now that he had this problem, he has this stress and this disappointment and this great loss. Now she's in a situation. When the water in the skin was gone, she left the child under a bush and went and sat down looking the other way, about a bow shot distance from him, because she said, I can't bear to watch with my eyes my child die. So she sat there looking the other way, crying out and weeping. Again, as you see in our portion, is always talking about, I cannot bear to watch, meaning she's going to use her eyes. Okay. So everyone in this in particular portion is using their eyes. Abraham has to watch her be sent away. Sarai saw what was going on between Ishmael and her son Yitzchak. All this has to do with someone's eyes, because the eyes is what's going to bring a person knowledge. And you get your knowledge through your eyes, because the eyes have to do with the ayin. Okay. And the dalet here is the door. So you got the eye of the door, and the eye of the door gives you what they would call visual observation. And that's where you get, sir, I spelled that wrong. So when you have visual observation, that's how one gains their knowledge, through experience. Is what you see that causes things to change for you. Okay. So all the things that we're seeing, that you and I are seeing right now, is supposed to help us. And I'm supposed to help paint a picture for us to give you a visual on what was going on. Because if I give you a visual of what's happening, and I'll put everything in its proper context, and I show you the picture, you're going to gain some knowledge. and you're going to gain some understanding, okay, by what you can see. You can literally see not only with the eye that you have in your head, but there's another eye that you have that you're unaware of. Okay. And that eye that you have is the one that can see beyond what the eyes can see. And that's the eye that the Most High wants to open up for us. That's what he's talking about, to show when Yah has showed himself unto Abraham. Pamela said, well, couldn't that have been a theophany? It absolutely could. He probably opened his eyes to see a vision of him. We don't know. We understand that at different times, their eyes were open. And we have some examples of that. Okay. So right now she's seeing it. She's crying out. She's in distress. Her child's about to die. So she's about to see this. And then all of a sudden, out of the Shamayim, and there's a reason why it's the Shamayim. There's a reason why the Malach spoke out of the Shamayim. The Shamayim in English is called the heavens. The heavens is the sky, because that's the name that the Creator gave to the heavens. He called it the sky, the Shamayim. And the Shamayim is the place of the waters. And it's two waters, okay? That's where you get this word Mayim right here, M-A-Y-I-M, Mayim, that's water. The Shah on it has to do with the number 2. So there's 2 waters, okay? The waters that are on the earth and the waters that are in the sky. But out of the waters that are in the heavens, that's where you and I get our breath. We get our breath from the Shamayim, from the heavens, okay? So this is the reason why the Malach of Yahweh is calling out from the heavens, out of the sky, because that's where the breath comes from. Okay. And so here it is. Elohim heard the boy's voice. He heard his voice. He heard the breath of him. And the Malach of Yahweh called to Hagar from the Shamayim, from the heaven, and said to her, what's wrong with you, Hagar? Don't be afraid, because Elohim has heard the voice of the boy in his present situation. Somebody tell me, why did the Most High hear this boy? Why did he hear his voice?
Well, he was circumcised, so.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Remember, he said, I will remember him for your sake. He was circumcised. He was Abraham's seed. Y'all said, I'll hear him. I'll listen to him. All right. And also, too, there's more information about that, but he heard him. He didn't hear her.
And didn't the Most High say he had also promised to make other nations of Abraham too, right?
Yes.
Yes.
He heard the boy. That's who he heard. He didn't come to Malach and say, hey, Hagar. He asked, what's wrong with you? Yah didn't respond to her. He responded to the boy. You hear that? And the reason why he responded to the boy is because of who the boy belongs to. And he responded to the boy because of Abraham. Yah responded to Lot because of Abraham. Yah is going to respond to us because of Abraham. He said, I'm going to remember the covenant I made with Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. Belonging to Abraham means that you're going to be heard. There was a command after this situation. He said, get up, lift the boy up and hold him tightly in your hand. Grab him, and because I'm going to make him a great nation. This is the Malach talking to her. The Malach of Yahweh. Now, let me take a moment to explain what the Malach of Yahweh is, so we can all get it. So we can say, well, is that Christ of the New Testament? The Malach of Yahweh. It is the messenger of Yahweh. Yahweh chooses to speak through a messenger. Anytime you hear the Malach of Yahweh, the Malach of Yahweh, the Malach of Yahweh, that is not Yahweh. That is a messenger. That is somebody that stands in front of him and he said, go tell him what I said. I'm the king. I don't have to go talk to everybody. Who do you and I think he is? You think that every time we have to say something, he has to engage with humankind. He has to get off the throne and he He has to respond to us. He sends a messenger to speak to the people. Then he says this, then Elohim opened her eyes. Or you mean her eyes weren't open? I just told you there's other eyes that you and I have that Yah has to open. And guess what? Your eyes are being opened. Right now, your eyes are being opened. You're listening to what Yahweh is saying. You can see it when he says that, hey, I'm going to come and get you. Why is it that you can see it, but other people can't? Why is it you can say that, hey, I know I'm in exile and other people can't see that they're a slave? Why can you see the importance of keeping the Shabbat? Because Yahweh opened your eyes. There's people right now, their eyes are still shut, closed, because they won't listen to Yahweh. You got eyes that you don't even know that you got. The Most High has to open your eyes. And then she saw a well of water, and she went, she filled the skin with the water and gave it to the boy water to drink, gave the boy the water to drink, and he refreshed him and it brought him back. It wasn't food that got him, it was water. But after the command, there was comfort. Comfort in what? Because she obeyed. You got to remember, you got to pull from this. When you look at these stories, you got to understand how things happened and what was said. The command came, then after the command and the obedience to the commandment, then there's comfort. Elohim was with the boy. Why? Because she did what he said. And he grew. Who opened her eyes? Who opened her eyes? Somebody answer it.
Yahweh opened her eyes.
Yahweh opened her eyes. Why do I say that, Dr. Ured? I say it simply because you and I need to stop taking credit for what Yahweh has done. Give Yahweh his due and give him his credit. If he opened our eyes, he opened our eyes. You didn't get a brochure in the mail saying I'm Israel. You didn't go to a conference. You didn't go to a get-together. You didn't go to a banquet. You didn't go to nowhere. Yah opened our eyes. Nobody at your church told you this. He lived in the desert. The boy lived out there and he became an archer. Why? Because of the crisis. Yah can turn a crisis into an opportunity. And everybody that's in this crisis has the opportunity to benefit. That's what he's trying to show us. Yah is the cause of them being put out. You understand? And I'll prove it. And he got an occupation. You understand? He lived in the Paran desert. You think life was easy in the desert without your father? He and his mother chose a wife from the land of Mitzrayim. She went and got him a wife from Mitzrayim, from her own people. That's where she went back and got him a wife from her people. Do you see that? What else we got? Dawid, you're kind of getting pumped up here because I'm starting to see some things. I'm starting to I'm starting to understand that Yah's appearing. He's showing himself. Crisis after crisis after crisis. Loss after loss after loss. Let's look at Yishmael. Avraham said to Elohim, if only Yishmael could live in your presence. This was the Torah portion that we read at the weekly portion from last week. He wanted Yishmael to live in Yahweh's presence when Yah told him that Sarah was going to have a son. Didn't sound like he was being really super faithful then, does it? Like they would say, he's the father. He has so much faith. Okay, I'm going to show you what they are misunderstanding. Avraham wanted Ishmael to live in Yahweh's presence after Yah told him that Sarah was going to have a son. He didn't believe it. You understand? He didn't believe it. And again, we're going to see some disappointment. Okay. What is the disappointment? Elohim answered, no. Sarah, but Sarah, your wife will bear a son. and you are to call him Yitzchak, laughter. I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him. I'm not only establishing my covenant with you, Avraham, I'm establishing my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him. So if you notice, every time Yah mentions his covenants, he mentions the one that he had with Avraham. Then he talks about Yitzchak. And then he says, Yaakov. This is the reason why he's saying this, is because I made a covenant with him, I made a covenant with him, and I made a covenant with him. I made several covenants with all of your fathers. You understand? I've established it. Okay? So there's some things I've established with you that you pass on to them. And then I'll turn around and tell Yitzchak what I'm going to do. He passes it on to Yaakov. Then I'm going to tell Yaakov what I want him to do, and he's going to pass it on to his sons. And then when I set a covenant with his sons are going to pass it on to their descendants. But you're all part of the same family. So it all goes hand in hand. What I told Yaakov, or say the Yisrael, I did not give that to Avraham. I didn't have to. So why are you trying to box me in and make my covenant I told Avraham to say that that's what, because, Yisrael has to follow what Avraham did, meaning that, he just believed God. That's the story that's going out here right now, that Avraham believed. And I keep showing everybody, and the only people that understand this is the people that come to the class, and they know that if you look at what Avraham did believe, he didn't cause himself to believe. He was caused by Yah to believe. And that's proven by all the questions that he said and all the statements that he made, that he didn't believe Yah. If he did, he wouldn't say, hey, what about Ishmael? Why is he trying? Is he trying to add to what Yah said? What I'm trying to show everyone is that he didn't have this faith that everybody told us about, this religious faith that you and I have been told about, that you and I need to have in order to be pleasing to the Creator. It's not about you believing anything. It truly isn't. If anything that you have is because Yah has caused you to have it. Your responsibility is to respond to what Yahweh says. Okay? Abraham did not cause Sarah to have this child. Yah did. But what did he have to do? He had to take responsibility. He had to lay with his wife. You understand? Yah caused that birth to happen. Okay? That's what it is. And I'm going to prove that as well. But even after that distress and that disappointment that he had, Yah didn't want him to be worried. He says, but as for Ishmael, I've heard you. I heard what you asked. I have blessed him. I will make him fruitful and give him many descendants. He will father 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation. But I will establish my covenant with Yitzchak. I will establish my covenant with Yitzchak, whom Sarah will bear to you at this time next year. And Abraham was 99 years old when Yah told him this. Okay? Why am I telling you this? Because you could tell the Muslims when they talk to you about, you say, they ask you who you say, I'm Ivri, I'm a Hebrew. And he says, well, yeah, we all have the same God. Well, we're all in covenant together. No, we're not. Yah did not establish his covenant with Yitzchak. With Ishmael. He established it with Yitzchak. And they know that. Okay. What does the word shame mean? Name. What is your name?
Your character.
It's your character. It's how you live your life and who you are. Now, let me tell you about Ishmael. I want to tell you about him so you can understand what happened. The Malach of Yahweh said to her, in talking about Hagar, look, you're pregnant and you will give birth to a son. You are to call him Yishmael. Elohim hears. because Yahweh has listened to your misery. She named this child this because of what she was going through. Now we can see this is the first account when the Malach of Yahweh has spoken to her, which the Malach of Yahweh is a representative talking to her. The second time he speaks to her is this when she got put out. The first time she left on her own and she ran away. The second time she was put out. So we have here two occasions when the Malach of Yahweh has spoken to her. Okay. And he told her, you're to give this boy this name. So who named the boy?
Yeah.
Yahweh.
Yahweh named the boy. Now you can understand why Yahweh named him, don't you? Don't you see why he named him? Why did he name him Ishmael, according to what we've read so far? Why did he name him this?
Because Yahweh heard him.
Yahweh wanted to hear him. And he knew that if I would name him this, that when he calls out to me, I would hear him. In the midst of a crisis, Yah has already prepared them. He prepared her for the crisis. He prepared them for the loss. He prepared them for the disappointment. He prepares us. And he gives us a name that he knows that when you and I call, he'll answer. When you and I call on Yahweh, his name, he says, your name will be called Yisrael. That's your name. You said, well, my name don't, is he, no, he don't hear me in that. No, your name, somebody tell me what your name means. It starts with a B.
Because
There you go. Because you're on the heel of everything. Because I'll do anything I want to do just because. You're after. The heel comes after something, don't it? The heel's not in the front. The heel is in the back. It's a result of something. It's at the end of something. It's because of something. Yah is saying, I need something to happen. And because of you, this is going to happen. Because of you, the nations are going to know who I am. Because of you, I'm going to receive glory throughout all the nations. Because I sent you to exile. Because you didn't listen to my commandments. Because you didn't teach your children. Because you decided to break the laws of the Shabbats. Because it's because Yah has already prepared us for the crisis and for the disappointments and for your losses. Yah tells this woman, his mother, that he will be a wild ass of a man. He will be a wild ass of a man with his hand against everyone and everybody's hand against him, living his life at odds with all his relatives. So she named Yahweh, who had spoken with her, El Roeh, meaning Elohim of seeing. He sees, he saw my misery. Because she said, have I really seen the one who sees me? She didn't see Yah. She asked the question, have I really seen the one who sees me? You see? I'm seeing like what? What'd you see? A Malach spoke to her out of heaven. Out of heaven. In context, in chapter number 16, read it for yourself again. He said he spoke to her out of heaven. See? But this is he's going to be wild. Yah already tells us what this boy is going to be like. He already lets us know what his behavior is. And he called him a wild ass, right? Of a man. And so I did my research and I looked up, said, well, what is a wild ass like? What do they do? A donkey territorial instinct is so strong that in many countries, they're used to guard herds of sheep and goats against dogs, foxes, coyotes, and wolves. That means they don't joke. They don't play around. They're vicious. Okay. They're using them to guard. Unfortunately, this territorial nature results in donkeys sometimes chasing and attacking small stock as sheep, goats, and poultry, and cats and dogs, meaning it goes against, it could be for you or against you. But it just is having a hard time distinguishing between because it's so territorial. So this man, Ishmael, is a very territorial person. Okay. Now you can understand why Sarah did what she did. Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, whom Hagar had born to Abraham, making fun of Yitzchak. That word making fun of is mocking him. Not laughing, because his name means laughter. That's what Yitzchak's name means, laughter. This one is mocking, laughing, not with him, but at him. Making fun of him. Why? Why was this 14, 15-year-old person making fun of a baby? Who does that? You notice how some older people be like, that child, something ain't right with that kid. You ever heard anybody say that? You can see stuff, okay? So Sarah saw with what? What did she see with everyone? It was just her eyes that you and I are talking about, our physical eyes, or did she see something deeper? She saw something deeper. That's what she saw, that this boy is a problem because she can see the way he was moving, the way he was acting. He's very territorial. And that's what the Malak said that, the Malak of Yahweh said that he was going to be like. Now, did he tell Sarah that? No, he told Hagar that. You understand? And I'm pretty sure as a mother, she was just trying to, hey, make sure, okay, take it easy, whatever. But I hope you guys understand something. Sarah technically is literally the mother legally of this boy. Somebody tell me why. How is that possible?
Hagar was her handmaiden.
There you go, Akoti. She was a handmaid. She was a slave girl. So the bottom line is she had this son for her. Legally, this boy of Hagar's was really Sarah's son. Legal. So legally, she had a right to say, I don't want him around. I don't want her or him. And you can see that in the Torah where the Yah says that a slave doesn't have certain rights. Let me see. A question is, Hagar is is Ivri because of her father? Hagar, so is it Ivri because of his father? The son. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yishmael is Ivri. He is. He's Ivri. His father's Ivri. Absolutely. And that's a great distinction, Gil, because our great question that you asked is because Yishmael is Ivri. He is. You see? His father is an Ivri. He's an Ivri. Okay? But more than anything, he's Shemitic. Okay? Ivri is a title to a group of people who have crossed over. And his father was an Ivri, and he's an Ivri. And he crossed over. Okay? Even though he's born, it's still his son. But that was his behavior, and that's why Sarai did what she did to him. Because she saw something. She saw that ass, that wild ass of a man person. That's what she saw. Okay? As you can see, there's crisis after crisis here, and it has to do with the family. Yitzchak, his name means laughter, and all of us know that. Laughter. But in the midst of the laughter, or the midst of your agony, your crisis, you can have some laughter sometimes, like Avraham did. Through everything he went through, it was a time he was at a mishteh, he was at a festival, and he had it, and everybody's laughing. I believe this child here, because I did some research, and they said, well, a kid usually starts laughing between 2 and 4 months. they begin to have that giggle and laugh. But I'm assuming that this child was just laughing all the time. He's like a little giggler, someone funny, because your name represents your character. So he didn't just all of a sudden grow up a grown man and all of a sudden he start laughing. This is who he is. They say that the same brain, a part of the brain that has to do with laughter has to do with crying, right? So you can either have two different types of or you can have several types of babies. You can have a baby that's laughing all the time and is happy. And also you can have a baby that's crying all the time. I believe that this in particular child was one that was always giggling and always laughing. And maybe that's what Yishmael was making fun of, maybe he's just, just really picking on him and making fun of him, right? Because of who he was and what he represented. So, laughter is good. There's some facts about laughter in the midst of all this crisis. I do want to let you know the laughter is good. Laughter enhances your intake of oxygen, rich air. It stimulates your heart, your lungs, your muscles, and increases endorphins, right? That are released into your brain, okay, or by your brain. And, it activates and relieves stress, because our bodies go through a very stressful response. So when we laugh, you can actually release endorphins and chemicals in your body to help you. Some of our mental health professionals here can probably attest to this, that, this is what it is. Laughter is good. Laughter is good for the soul. There's also been some research that had been done, a basic study that was done in Norway that found that people with a strong sense of humor outlive those who didn't have a strong sense of humor or didn't even laugh as much. Laughter is important. In the book of Mishlei, which they call Proverbs, and in the book of Mishlei is about making comparisons. This book right here, what they call Mishlei, in English is called Proverbs. And Proverbs are literally what they would call to be like, to be like something, okay? Or to make a comparison, okay? I don't know what my spelling is. To make a comparison, okay? And also too, the person, it comes from this word called mashal. And mashal has to do with someone who's ruling as a ruler, okay? So when a person is thinking about, especially because Shlomo wrote these things, in terms of his ruling, he understood that, when I rule, I have to be able to make comparisons and I have to look at things and what things are like, So one of the things that he wants to bring to our attention in the book, what they would call Mishlei, of making comparisons and things side by side, and that's what a good ruler does, is to understand things. And so he understood that that a happy heart is a good heart. It's a good medicine. But low spirits can sap one's strength, telling us something like, I'm making comparison between a person who's happy versus a person who's not happy. A person who has low spirits is one who someone can take you down, right? Have you ever been around people who are just miserable all the time? They'll suck you dry, right? So a person who has a low spirit can sap one's strength, right? But someone with a happy heart, okay, who's always a happy heart, is one who's laughing. That's good medicine for you. So laughter is medicine. And I truly believe that, laughter can bring you out of a bad space. It can change the mood. It can change the environment, and it can make you feel better. So it is good medicine. And I believe that the creator of the heavens and the earth has given it to us as medicine, is for joy. And if you think about a happy heart, often we are supposed to experience this happy heart when we're when Yahweh's present. He talks about bringing joy to us and taking us out of our sorrow, and that's how we're going to experience our moedims, our set apart times. And also too, the Shabbat's supposed to be a time of a happy heart, all right? Because there's different times and there's different seasons. But also too, we understand that there's a time that one should laugh and one where one should not laugh. There's a time to weep and a time to laugh. Again, making a comparison. There's a time to mourn, there's a time to dance, and that is found. And you say, well, what's this book down here that you have there, Akika? The book that I have here is called Koheleth. Okay, and Koheleth is the book of Ecclesiastes. Okay, and a Koheleth is a teacher, what they call a preacher, a teacher, and one who has these different sayings that can help you understand how things are supposed to go. It's one who's supposed to teach you, about how things are supposed to work. So teaching someone to know there's a different time for things, You know, you don't laugh at a funeral. You know what I mean? You don't laugh when you're at a meeting and someone's being serious, you know, but there's different times to laugh. So of course we see the laughter is not all the time, and there is going to be a time to mourn, but there's also a time to dance, because that's what life is. Life is the time in which you and I live in. So that's what you have there. I'm going to speed it up a little bit more. Pretty interesting, right? 90 years. After 90 years, Yahweh remembered Sarah, as he said. And Yahweh did for Sarah what he had promised. He said, well, why'd you say 90 years? Because it took 90 years for her to get what she's probably always wanted, and which is to have some sense of joy from herself. You see, it wasn't easy for her. Look at her life. Her life wasn't easy. Every time you turn around, she's being snatched and taken. Every time you turn around, she had to tell somebody this wasn't her husband because of the people that she lived around. Every time you turn around, she had a slave girl jump in her face and act like wasn't a slave anymore. She didn't owe her any type of respect. Every time you turn around, there's other people. During that 90 years, how many mishtays, how many celebrations did she go to and sit at that she didn't have a child? How many times did she have to hear the cry of another child? And believe me, she was actively involved in the life of Yishmael. She was his legal mother. She took responsibility and ownership for him, you see. So, but it's not like your own, you know what I'm saying? So just think about her life. And often we don't. I think our Torah portion for next week, our weekly, will be telling us about her life. You know, we'll get more into that. But what I'm going to bring out today is that Yah had remembered her. And I want to deal more about with the idea of what Yah does remember. And one of the things that Yah has remembered is the promises that he makes to us. Yah has never forgotten a promise that he's ever made. And Yahweh did for Sarah what he had promised. And that's what this is about as well. Even through the crisis, you can see that there's always Yah fulfilling what he said. So get the idea in your mind that, guess what? I might have to go through something in order to get what Yah has promised me. And it's not unfortunate. And we shouldn't look at it, well, this is unfortunate. You got to go through something to get something. That's the way it works. Elohim said to Avraham, as for Sarai, your wife, you are not to call her Sarai, meaning mockery, because people mocked her. Why? Because she couldn't have a child. That was humiliating for a woman, especially one of a culture. Her name is to be Sarah, princess. I will bless her. Moreover, I will give you a son by her. That's the promise. Truly, I will bless her. Not only am I going to bless you, I'm going to bless her. She will be a mother of nations. Kings of peoples will come from her. Literally verbatim what he said to Abraham. He said it to her too. You see, this idea that the New Testament or any other writing would minimize her and not tell, hey, well, she's going to be the mother of many nations. Why isn't that mentioned? They don't want to talk about her life, right? You see, as if Yah didn't cause anything to happen for her. And everyone gets on this idea of faith. And I'm telling you right now, today, again, faith is not what you and I have been told. What is faith? According to what our enemies have told us. They told us that faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. See, it's a different kind of faith. You literally can't, you don't have to see nothing, just believe it. But look at the definition of belief. I got believe and I got belief here. To believe something means that you accept something as true. Feel sure of the truth of it. That's believe, okay? You got something, okay? Now listen to this. Belief, an acceptance that a statement is true or that something exists. You see? So your faith has to be attached to something that literally exists, and it literally has to be true. It has to be proven, and there has to be evidence. But they told you that faith is the substance of things not seen. Or excuse me, what is it? Faith is the substance of things what? Not seen, evidence. Yeah.
Hope for.
Yeah, the evidence of things hoped for, meaning you there's nothing you can see. You don't have to see it to believe it. That's totally contrary to the actual meaning and the definition. That's brainwashing. Yah does not want you to believe anything. You understand? Nothing. Meaning, like, do you have to believe? Let me ask you a question. Let me get off my little horse here. Do you have to believe that there's a sun or a moon or stars? Do you have to believe that?
No,
Huh?
you don't have to.
You don't have to, do you? Tell me why, Akoti.
Because you have a choice if you want to believe it or not.
Thank you. There's a choice there, but do you see it?
You don't have to believe it
Yes.
because you see it every time.
You see it all the time. Do you feel it? Do you feel it, Gil? Do you feel the heat of the sun? Huh?
Yep.
Yeah, you do. Do you, okay? Do you see the trees? Do you see that? Do you believe that there's a tree out there?
Yes.
You understand? It's things that exist. And this is what the Creator's saying. I exist. How do you know that Yahweh exists? I don't need you to believe that I exist. I need you to know for sure that I exist. Okay? But I'm going to tell you that they say that Abraham believed. Isn't that what they said? That he's the father of the faithful, right? Listen to the statement of our father. And I'm not putting our father down by any means. I'm letting you know so I can show you the difference between belief and actually knowing. At this, Abraham fell on his face after Yah told him about his son, about having Yitzchak. At this, Abraham fell on his face and he laughed. He laughed and he thought to himself, will a child be born to a man 100 years old? And will Sarai give birth at 90? Does that sound like he actually believed? Did he believe?
No.
No. Yah caused him to believe. Yah put that, and Yah caused him to believe so he can have righteousness, meaning Yah put that in him. Okay? We say, well, what do you mean he caused him to believe? There's something where it comes from within us, and there's something that Yah can cause. Okay? So this man did not, he didn't hit Baal, like you clothe yourself, you make yourself eat and all that. He didn't do this. He didn't muster up everyone inside himself to say that I believe everything the Creator said to me. I believe everything he said. And without a doubt, no worries. You said I'm going to have a son. I'll never ask you a question after that. I believe it. He didn't ask him to do this blindly. Yah was telling him that this is what I'm going to do for you. And guess what you got to do? You got to wait for it. You got to wait for it. Okay. So he laughed at the idea of this. What did the mother of Yitzchak do? Abraham and Sarah were old. They were advanced in age and in years. And Sarah was past the age of childbirth, birthing. She's past that age. So Sarah laughed. She laughed to herself thinking, I'm old. I'm old. I am old. And so is my Adoni. So is my master. Am I to have pleasure again? Which is called Hebrew Edna. Am I supposed to, go through the motions of like a young woman? What's the purpose of me doing this? I can't even have kids. Yahweh said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh? And ask, am I really going to bear a child when I'm so old? Did she have any faith?
No.
Did she believe? No, she didn't. Abraham didn't believe, and neither did she. Right? They didn't believe. Everyone. I put everyone here because I'm trying to show you that everybody is going to laugh. The father laughed, the mother laughed, and now everyone else is going to laugh. Sarai said, this is the conversation she was having in her mind when Yah says that she said that she can't have this child. Okay. Sarai has said, Elohim has given me good reason to laugh. Now everyone who hears about it will laugh with me. Why are they going to laugh? Why are they going to laugh?
Because they don't believe it's possible either.
They don't believe it's possible. Laughter brings joy. They don't believe it's possible. They think it's impossible. That's why Yah chose those people. He brought her to the point being past childbirthing age. He could have gave her this when she was younger. He didn't want to. He wanted her to be kidnapped so he can increase Abraham's wealth. He wanted her to be kidnapped so Yah can reveal to the Avimelech in that land that Abraham is a prophet. You see, this Yah has a plan. And sometimes we don't understand that plan. But guess who else who laughs? Yahweh laughs. Let's see what his laughter is about. Why are the nations in an uproar and the people's grumbling in vain? The earth's kings are taking positions, leaders conspiring together against Yahweh and his anointed. They cry, let's break their fetters and let's throw off their chains. He who sits in the heavens laughs. The supreme master looks at them in derision. He's like, what? Are you serious? He's laughing at them. He's mocking them. Are you kidding me? You really think that you're going to break away from my power? It's not going to happen. Also, he tells us in wisdom, that wisdom laughs. And this is a scary one. Because you refused when I called, and in context, this is talking about in the book of Mishlei, Proverbs chapter 1. It talks about how wisdom is standing in the city and asking, would anybody listen to her? Would anybody take my counsel? Would anybody, come and seek Yahweh and his knowledge? Okay. He says, because you refused when I called and no one paid attention when I put out my hand, but instead you neglected my counsel and would not accept my reproof, I in turn will laugh at your distress and mock when terror comes over you. Yes, when terror overtakes you like a storm and your disaster approaches like a whirlwind, when distress and trouble assail you, she's going to laugh at you in your distress. That's not funny, is it? So laughter can be either for a positive thing or it could be for a not so positive thing. It could be a mocking thing. So even Yah himself will laugh at the kings of the earth, and the wisdom herself will laugh at people when they get into the distress because they didn't follow the counsel. They didn't listen to when they were being called to and asked to make some changes. So we can see that Yah keeps his promises. We can see that laughter is part of this child of Yitzchak, okay? But also, too, there is some agony that we found in our portion this week. His agony has not stopped. This is the worst of the worst that any parent would have to do. He felt agony. After these things, Elohim tested Abraham, and he said to him, Avram or Avraham, he answered, here I am. He said, take your son, your only son, whom you love, Yitzchak, and go to the land of Moriah. You are to offer him as a burnt offering on a mountain that I will point out to you. Question for everyone here. Was Yitzchak his only son?
No.
No. So I left this here on purpose because I want you to get why they left it here. They want to leave this there because they want to make Christ your only son. They want it to match. Okay. The complete understanding of this is that this is not only. That's not the word for only. Okay. The actual word for that is called Yakid. Okay. And Yakid means one that you are unified with. Okay. Meaning that you're joined. That's what it means, to be joined and to be unified. And literally to be joined and be unified is to be echad. You became one with him, okay? When he said, I'm going to test you, he's telling him that I'm going to prove you. And I am going to examine you. After everything that Abraham has done, at the end of it all, and this in particular son is roughly around 14 years old. He's 14 years old, okay? Because they call him a Na'ar, just like what we had Ishmael. So he's around the same age that he was when he got put out. Okay. So he's a youth. He's not 30 years old. He's a youth. He's not a grown man. Like they would tell you, like you grew up and found out, oh, he was like Christ's age. He was 30 years old and he was willing to go be, taken, and he was willing to do it. No, no, he was a youth. That's why he was asking the question. He's asking, hey, where's the offering at? Where's this, Dad? Where's this, Father? Father. He was a kid. He was like a young man. Okay. A youth. He's a teenager. Okay. So he took him, and it says that Yah had loved, that you love him. I know that you love him because you're joined with him. You're unified in your love with him. Now that I've had you built this relationship with him over the last, few years, not only since the festival where you put your other son out, now that you've been developing this relationship, and now that, I've given you what I told you I was going to give you, now we're going to find out whether or not I'm going to examine you, right, in your life, and I'm going to put this final thing on you right now. This is it. So now Avraham is roughly 114 years old. Okay. The name of this place, Moriah, is a place, it talks about Ra'eh or Ra'ah. That means the Yah sees. That's what I'm taking to this land that where Yah sees. I'm bringing you here. And I want you to be an Olah. I want you to be a burnt offering. A burnt offering is not one that's just burnt. The proper pronunciation is a whole offering. I want all of it. I want the whole entire thing. Okay. The whole entire bull or whatever it is. I want the whole thing. I don't want some of it. I want it all. And so there's a reason why he mentions Olah. Okay. Because it's called an Olah. And there's a reason why Yah's bringing him to a mountain to do this. Okay. Because a mountain represents a kingdom. Okay. So I'm going to bring you to a mountain. I want all of it. Meaning, like, I want that which you love the most. That's what I want. I want all of it. I want all of what you love. Okay? All. I told you earlier this week that Yah had got on me. I've been following for 10 years. And I'm still learning. I'm still going through the process, and so are you. Dawid Akika is becoming mature. I'm going through maturity. And through my maturity, I'm experiencing things as our father Abraham is. And Yah is going to test me and you and everyone to find out if you love me and give me everything. That's why I'm asking you for this whole burnt offering. I want all of it. Okay. So now this is your final test, because I got to prove and examine you to see if you're what I would call worthy of me. That's what I'm going to find out, if you're worthy of me. Okay. And so Yah is going to use this. So the whole time he's been shaping his life. And so he sends him on a journey. As you would know, journey is representative of a walk, lek lekah. It uses the same words there, he lek lekah. In the Hebrew, it talks about, like, I'm going to lek lekah here. You're going to lek lekah. I'm going to send you and you're going to walk. Now I'm going to send you on your final walk to find out whether or not you're worthy of me. Okay. So let's go on our journey. Here's your journey. Your journey is going to take you 3 days to get there. Okay. And after Abraham raised his eyes, he saw with what? He saw with his eyes, because Yah showed it to him. Okay. He saw the place in a distance. The place here is called a makom. Okay, very specific. The Yah says this place. It was a very distinct place that I told you to go to. Okay, so I'm going to take the journey. As he was taking his journey for 3 days, he knew why he was going. Could you imagine what he was feeling as he was walking and going with his son? And he had 2 other Na'ar, which is two other teenagers with him. He had a donkey, and that's all he had. He had some sticks, some wood, and he had a knife, and he had some fire. Okay. And what it was is that Abraham now has come to a place after 3 days of this journey, and all throughout his whole entire life, is now to find out whether or not he was going to be unwavering. If he's going to be all in, all the way. Okay. If he's going to be firm in his conviction and be determined to do what Yah wanted him to do. And the answer to that is yes. He came to the place that Makom Elohim had told him about, and Avraham built the altar there. Okay. He's been building altars this whole journey that he's been with Yah. And he built one over in Shechem when he first came into the land. He built one over in the Oaks of Mamre. He built one in the Negev, and he's been calling the name of Yah. You see, and then he's been moving around. Okay, so he's already knowing what building an altar was, but I guarantee he didn't realize the altars that he was building, that he was going to build one final altar here for his final test. Okay, and so he built the altar. He set the wood in order. He bound Yitzchak, his son, and he laid him on the altar and on the wood. And then Abraham put out his hand and he took the knife to kill his son. He did 7 things here. There's 7 of them. Okay. And that means to be complete. He's completely committed to doing what Yah had asked him to do. And what he was told to do was to offer and to kill his son. Okay. He says this statement. Okay, as he's about to kill his son, he says, "Here I am." I've spoken to you before about "here I am," and basically Hineni means that here I am, meaning that I'm at your service or I'm at your command. What is your command? I'm at your service. What is it that you want me to do? So in closing, I want you to understand that you and I have to come to this place. You and I must take a journey as our father Avraham did. And you and I must make a decision about whether or not if you're going to kill your son or your daughter, is whether or not you're going to give Yahweh everything that you love. If you're going to hand it over to him. And most of us love things about ourselves that we don't tell people about. You know, a lot of us hang on to things. We love certain things about ourselves. We got little secrets that we don't want to give over, but we got to give these things over. So he said, "Here I am." But the Malach of Yahweh called to him out of the heaven, just like he did with Hagar. And he said, Avraham. And he answered, Hineni, meaning here I am. And he said, "Don't lay your hand on the boy. Don't do anything to him. For now I know that you are a man who fears Elohim, because you have not withheld your son, your Yakid, your one that you're unified from me. I know now that you fear me." I know. So the test was about whether or not you and I are going to be there at the service to fear Elohim. It wasn't about him giving his son. It was about whether or not you're going to withhold what you love. You don't have to be a son. It could be your job. It could be your emotions. It could be your, it could be anything. It could be your desires. It could be anything that you love. You know, it could be a car. It could be your house. It could be your image. It could be your style. It could be the way that you talk. It could be your humor. It could be anything. If you withhold anything from Yahweh, you don't fear him. That's what he's telling us. If you hold anything back from me, you don't fear me. You see, anything that you love, that you withhold from me, you don't fear me. I want to know if you fear me. That's what I want to know. I want to know whether or not that you are available at my service. Okay. When it talked about Yera, that's the name of fear. A yod, a resh, and an aleph. The root of the word is this, and the root means to do with a hand, which is the yod, and the resh is the head. I wrote resh again. The head. A head of what? A head of a man. So to fear Yahweh has to do with a man's hand. Okay. And what a man's hand does, a man's hand uses it to point into a direction. Fear has to do with pointing. It has to do with instruction. You use your fingers to point. That's what you use a hand for, to point, to tell someone to go in a direction. Once you go in the direction, you have to follow the instructions. So if you and I claim that we fear Elohim, right? You and I have to be pointed in a direction. And the direction comes with instructions. Like I'm instructing you, I'm pointing you here, okay? That's what I'm doing. Like rain coming out of the sky, it comes in a direction, it's pointing down to where it's supposed to hit. So that's what fear has to do with. And fear is an emotion. It is, okay? It truly is. But the fear that he's looking for, the awe that he's looking for from us is like, instead of us just throwing someone, he's not asking for us to point our fingers. He's asking for us to be in awe and to be in fear, where you and I will throw ourselves to his feet to say that you're my authority. You're my king. I will obey what you said. That's what our Father did throughout his whole entire life, and through all his consequences and all his experiences and all the wars that he fought and all the good times that he did have and all the crises and disappointments and losses. He had to finally come to this end, is to fall down and put himself in the authority of one. And Yah is going to test every last one of us and see if you and I are holding him in awe and fear. Because the question he asks is this: me means who? Who will give their minds to always fear me? I put the proper translation here because I didn't feel like wasting time when it says hearts, but it's really your mind. Question is who? That's me. Me. Who? Question. Who will give their minds to always fear me? Who would give their minds to always be in awe of me? Who would always give their mind, your M-I-N-D-S, your thoughts, to fall down in authority to me? Who would give their mind to obey all my commandments? Who? That's the question. So that it would go well with them and their children forever, like your father Avraham did. Who's going to do that? That's the test. That's to find out who's who. I need to know who's who. I didn't pick Avraham. When I picked him, I had a test in mind for him because I promised him something. Okay? And because I promised him this, the Malach of Yahweh called to Avraham on behalf of Yahweh a second time. Just like he called it Hagar and told her a second time, he's telling her a second time. He said, I sworn by myself, says Yahweh, that because you have done this, because you haven't withheld your son, because you're the Yakid, the one that you're unified with, the one that you love the most, the one that you've been waiting for, the one that you desired, the one that you used to think about, the one that you so desperately wanted all your life and never had, under the circumstances from the woman that you loved. Because I will most certainly bless you, and I will most certainly increase your descendants to as many as there are stars in the sky or grains of sand on the seashore. Your descendants will possess the cities of their enemies. And by their descendants, all the nations of the earth will bless themselves. This is a Hitpael, meaning the nations will do this. They'll come on their knees and with gifts in their hands because you obeyed my order, my command. Because that's what you did. I got to wrap this up. There's one last crisis that I want to mention before we go. It has to do with us. It's called Anaknu. Anaknu. That means we or us. Okay? We're in trouble. We're in a crisis. But in our crisis, it says, but then his people remember the days of old, the days of Moshe. Where is he who brought them out or up from the sea, from the shepherds of his flock? Where is he? Where is he who has put his set apart spirit right among them? Where is he? This is the question that his people remembered. Where is he? Where's the one who brought out Moshe? Where is he? His spirit, the set apart spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh. Where is he? Who caused his glorious arm to go out at Moshe's right hand? Where is he? He divided the waters ahead of them to make himself an eternal name. Where is he? He led them through the deep like a sure-footed horse through the desert. Where is he? Like a cattle going down into a valley, the spirit of Yahweh had them rest. Where is he? This is how you led your people to make yourself a glorious name. Where is he at? Isaiah said this, Yashayahu, look down from the Shamayim and see from your holy, glorious dwelling. Where are your zeal and your mighty deeds? Where are they? Your inner concern and compassion, where is this at? This is the same person who brought the children of Israel. This is the same one who delivered them. Where is this at? Where is he? And it says, don't hold back, for you are our Father. Even if Avraham were not to know us and Yisrael were not to acknowledge us, you, Yahweh, are our Father. Our Redeemer of old is your name. Even if Avraham didn't know us, and even if Yisrael were not to acknowledge us, the hope that you and I have is in Yahweh. But there's an appeal that needs to be made. Yahweh, the question is asked, we're appealing to him, why do you let us wander from your ways and harden our hearts so that we don't fear you? Remember, this is what the goal is, to fear Yahweh. Why do you let us go away from you? We're going to ask you to return for the sake of your servants, the tribes who are your possession. Why? We need Yah to return. We need him to open up the heavens to come down, to bring us back so you and I could be the servants, so you and I can learn how to fear him again. This is what Yah is asking. That should be our appeal. He's asking for us to fear him. And the Spirit was with them. The Spirit of Elohim is not in this wicked place. When the Spirit of Elohim is with someone, things happen. Waters split open. Things happen. I want to leave you what they call, I got 7 minutes left. I want to read a maskil to you. A maskil is a poem. That's what a maskil is. It's a poem. Okay. And the mem right here means from. And this skill here is from this word called sakal. And sakal means to be prudent. And it means to be wise. And it's also used to teach us how to be wise and how to be prudent. Okay. So that's what a sakal means. But a meskel or a maskil means from sakal, meaning from wisdom, to teach. Okay. So I'm going to read this maskil to you, and I want you to really think about it. Okay. I want you to understand this, and I want you to take it into consideration. And then let me know what your thoughts are. Sorry that it's like I'm going to kind of blow it up a little bit for us right here. The name of this maskil is called I'm Yours. I want you to listen very carefully. I'm ready now to be what you want me to be. I'm willing to see the other side of how things really should be. I failed as a human being, not recognizing your power and majesty. I need your forgiveness. I seek your peace. My life has been reckless and uninformed for many days. I've been misled and misunderstood in all kinds of ways. I'm in trouble without you. I'm ready to take my seat that you've prepared for me. Forgive your servant his blindness and inability to see. Forgive my stubbornness and my arrogance of what I thought my life should be. You've been waiting for me, patiently waiting. You've shown kindness to the soul of me. I'm so sorry. I'm truly sorry for being me. Now I understand. I get it. Now I comprehend you only wanted to be with me. My pain has purpose, and my struggles mean so much to me. I've come to embrace them. It was your way of shaping me. May I remember to thank you when I awake, and may my sleep be a reminder to the one who waits. I'm yours. Let's give Yahweh ourselves. Let's be transparent with him. Let's admit our faults. Avraham said, I'm afar afer, meaning I am nothing but dust and ashes, in our weekly portion. He admitted to Yah that he was nothing and that he didn't even have a right to speak. He honored him as his master. He gave his life over to him. His whole life was replete with all different types of crisis, tons of disappointment, loss, fear as a stranger, war, family issues, money issues, wife issues. People took his wife. They took the one he loved. He had to leave his family, his household, his heritage, everything. He left it all behind. But at the end of his journey, he realized that the only thing that mattered was doing what the Creator said. That's exactly why we have this in particular portion called Wayera. If Yahweh has revealed himself to us in any way, meaning to reveal his name to us and reveal his Torah to us, reveal his language to us, reveal his way of thinking to us, and he doesn't change. The very things that he expected from our Father is the things that he's expecting from us. It's shameful for us to be able to be in a land of our oppressors. It's a shameful thing to be here among those who are unclean, and for us to try to assimilate with those who hate that which is good. It's shameful to be in the land of the wicked, to be exposed to them, to be underneath their thumb. It's shameful to be the people called by Yahweh, and yet we have nowhere to go and to gather together to worship him, to give him what he so desires, which is praise from his people. And he ain't talking about just a few of us. He's talking about all of the sons of Yaakov. Jah today for this opportunity to be your teacher. I hope that you were able to gather something from this today. That in the crisis, there are benefits. People can benefit from this crisis. And it was those things that Abraham went through that brought him to that final place, that final testing place. He just prepared him. That's what it was. The whole thing is about preparation. It's about bringing a person to maturity. That's when he says, walk before me and be perfect. That's what he's talking about. What he's saying is, I'm going to bring you through all that I'm going to bring you through, to bring you to maturity, to bring you to the point where you will finally be able to give over everything to me. If you notice, there was no question when he asked him to do this. There was no resistance. There was no reluctancy. There was no ifs and maybes. There was nothing. He didn't even ask a question. All other times he asked a question, well, how would I know? There was no laughter here. Remember, there's a time to laugh and a time not to laugh. There was no laughter here because he understood something. He understood that this is it. This is the moment that Yah's been building me up to. And he didn't care how much oxen he had. He didn't care about how much silver and gold he possessed. He didn't care how many servants he had. He didn't care how many wives he had. He didn't care about anything. He cared more about Yah than he did his own son. He cared more about the commandment than he did his love for his own family. You see? So it was a step-by-step process. You see? And so Yah is looking for us, and he's not looking for some abracadabra or some magic show where all of a sudden one day you and I go, okay, I'm ready. He's not looking for that. He's just looking for you to put in the time and walk with him and be taught by him. And, come to understand that you don't know all things. And everything that I'm doing, I'm causing you to do things. I do need some cooperation, and I'll put different situations in your place for you to take action. But you can turn around and you can take a crisis, everyone, and you can turn it into something, an opportunity. You can turn it into an opportunity. and there could be some benefits along the way. I praise Yah for that. Any remarks, contributions?
When I was reading Bereshit 21:17, where I had a marginal note. Why was it that Yah heard the boy's cry, Yishmael, but he did not hear Hagar's cry? And so Todah Rabbah for explaining that.
Yes. Yah explained to us that he named the boy. He named him because he wanted to hear him, because he knew he would cry to him. And Yah wanted to respond to him because he had desires to build a nation out of him, because he's Abraham's seed. People say he had that child because he didn't have any faith. You know, that's what the New Testament teaches. Oh, he didn't have any faith. He disobeyed God. Did Yah tell him about you disobeyed me? Did he ever mention that? He mentioned to him to obey Sarah. It ain't the first time he's listening to her. You see? So all because something's not mentioned doesn't mean that it didn't happen. You know, Yah gives us little pieces of things. He doesn't tell us everything. He gives us an opportunity to think. If he gives us all the answers to the test, then you and I would surely not, you know, what would be the purpose of thinking? You know? So that's what it is. Azania, I see your hand. Koti, go ahead.
Todah Rabbah for this lesson. It just was so beautiful, and it meant so much to me, because I've been really praying and asking the Most High just to really show me where I need to go in my walk. And, you know, so much is going on in our family, and you know, so many people dying, so much sickness in even in my own body, and just so many different things going on. And sometimes we think that, you know, we're told that old age is supposed to bring some type of alleviation in our problems. And we learn in Torah from Abraham's crisis that it doesn't bring it on. You know, it's like the Most High is really trying to prepare us for judgment. He's trying to prepare us. And so anyway, I thank you for this lessons, for really taking the time to really open up Torah for us. I tell people on my TikTok, you know, to watch you, because many people aren't opening up Torah. And when Torah is opened up, this is how we know the Most High. And I feel like through this lesson, something that I've been praying for a while was answered. And it means a whole lot for me. So hallelujah. And thank you so much, brother. Yes. Thank you.
Touched my heart with that, man. That's beautiful. Yes, he is. He's opening us up to what it is that he wants us to see. I've read the Torah portion before, and I thought, well, you know, he has hospitality. Look how wonderful he is. He's this, he's that. But I never saw the struggle. I never looked at it like this is nothing but crisis after crisis after crisis. This man's life was full of problems. And yet through it all, he stood strong in the end, and he finally passed that test. And Yah was building him up to that. You see, he tested him. That was something that he had to do. He asked him to hit the lock, meaning walk after me. That's your part. But I'm only having you walk so you can come to the test. So Yah is speaking to us, letting us know, I have you doing what you're doing right now because I have something for you. I have to make sure that you are really serious about me. And I'm going to know this if you do what I tell you. The only way, he told us, he says, should I let Abraham know what I'm going to do? Because for the sake of, he's going to teach his children about my ways and guard what I said. So that they can inherit everything I promised their father. You and I won't get any of the inheritance if you and I don't follow the same pattern. You and I have to pass that test. That's what gets you to the land. That's what got him the promise. So if you and I are entitled to any type of promise, it's going to be based on us obeying what was said by the Creator. That's how simple it is.
Yes, 100% true. It's
Yeah.
it's all about understanding what our ancestors went through before, but we have to really get into it and slow it down
Yeah.
and take our time and really examine it and open these stories that we take for granted, that we just I never broke it down like the way you did. And so you're right, he went through all these crises, and I never thought about that 3-day journey. I mean, imagine those days for him.
Yeah.
Imagine what that was like.
Imagine those fires, those campfires, and eating and sitting around looking at your son, and your son's laughing. He's playing with the other young men. Everyone's having a good time, and he's asking questions. Put yourself in that position. That wasn't easy, everyone. That was very, very difficult.
I mean, yes. I mean, and we never thought about it. We shared in his victory, because his victory ended up being us being the nation that we are.
Yeah.
So we exalt in his victory every day, but his angst, we never take the time to share in that. So Todah for that, brother. That was really brilliant. All praises to the Holy One.
Praise the Most High. I love what you said. We often look at a person's victory, right? We look at their successes, but we don't look what they had to go through. We don't know what that person had to go through to get where they're at. You got to go through something. You put a lot of hard work, and people think somebody just gave it to you. It doesn't work like that. You worked hard for it. You had to go through something to get it. And now that you got it, and so I always tell people that are having these great successes, always mention to them, like, celebrate that, man, because, that's the work that you've done. You got to get some type of celebration. You know what I mean? It's not bragging or boasting, but don't hold back. If you're following Yah and you're having great successes and things, you celebrate that. You make sure everybody knows that. Give Yah praise while you can, because once we hit the dirt, that's over. Nothing in the dirt can praise him.
Over the last couple of weeks, and things that I've learned from these lessons, and I have to start off with a disclaimer. I protect myself, because when I watch other people and listen to other things, if they're not talking about the Torah or mention Yah's name, I kind of just, swipe left. But having over the last couple of weeks, you talked about being him causing us, like he caused Abraham. And now we talk about the crisis. Sometimes he causes us to see him and recognize his name, and sometimes that can bring us into crisis. Just trying to follow him and do the right thing. And you look at a lot of the stuff that's happening, and I know everybody's aware, there's a lot of stuff happening, and there's a lot of people talking, and a lot of it has to do with the Most High's people. And there's plenty of us, though, plenty of them that are not using his name in terms of trying to explain, what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But I go back to the whole causality thing. He's causing all that.
Yeah.
He's causing all that. As intelligent as it may sound in some situations, and as crazy as it may sound in some situations. What they say, a broken clock is right twice, twice a day. So, I'm just very aware of the cause, and then you said reward, you do what he says, which me and my wife are doing our best to do. And last week, my daughter and my son-in-law were telling me, based on the stuff that they were asking me, he said, Dad, you should write a book, because, we want to teach our children. I have 2 grandsons with my daughter, and We want to teach our children. And me and my wife, I think we've been dancing ever since we heard that.
Wow.
Because it makes me feel like, you know, my seed's going to be represented. If I could just make sure that they understand, you know,
Wow.
you know, it's going to be represented. So that was a big thing. And, you know, again, you know, he caused me to talk to them, and he caused me to see his name, and like out of nowhere, like you said, there was no leaflet that was given to me.
Yeah.
Come join Yah, you know. So
Right.
I'm thankful, and thanks for the lessons.
Oh, praise Yah.
It's been very good. I've been tying them together as we've been going through, and
Well,
I've been aware of what's going on around me, which is another thing that he causes us to be aware.
yes.
You hear something and you look at it and you like squint your eyes at a little thing, you know, over your brow. What, you know, to figure it out. So yeah.
Praise
Thank
Yah. Thank you for that contribution, and congratulations to you and your wife for you know, your daughter and your son-in-law asking you that. That's a tremendous blessing, and that's something to be happy and celebrate. And you know, that's honorable, you know, to have them come to you and say that. You know, they're watching us and are watching our lives. You know, so I want to tell each and every last one of you, I want to congratulate you all for going on this journey. Like, continue walking with me and being here. So, you know, you give me, and it's my state of where I'm at right now, I'm beginning to understand why I exist. I exist for this. I was caused to do this. This is why I was born. I was born to love you guys. I was born to be here. I didn't grow up with anybody on here. I don't know you guys. You don't know me. But this is what y'all wanted. This is what he caused. You see, and then because I'm doing what I'm supposed to and I'm obeying him, I'm making that cause beautiful, right? So let's don't take anything away from him. He caused the sun to come up. He caused the wind. He caused the bird. He's causing it all. You and I are just these beings that he loves, that he says, you know what? I want you to live a certain way. Like in that Matt Skill, he said, you know, I've been living this way. As a human being, I failed. It's just the truth. Yeah, I failed. I wrote that Matt Skill. That's my life. I failed as a human being. When I think about his majesty and his power, I failed. That's one thing that no one's ever taught me, but even so, you know, we can't still claim, well, I was never taught. No, you have eyes, you can see, you see. So we didn't take the time to think about it, you know? So I look at it that way, like everything that's going in our lives is Yah shaping us. He shaped Avraham's life. And he's shaping us. He's shaping our lives by what you go through. And our lives is supposed to be what he wants it to be. That's the thing. That's what I didn't get. Your life is supposed to be what he wants it to be, because he made you for him. He didn't make you for you. He made you for him. Do you see that? All praise be given to Yahweh. I'm going to let you guys go. Hallelujah. I'll see you a little bit later. For those of you who come to the Hebrew class, we'll be in lesson number 5, I believe. I think it's going to be an easy, cool lesson too.
And what time is that going to be?
It's going to be at 4 o'clock here at Pacific Standard Time.
Okay, then. Tell that. Okay.